The morning light filtered through the crystal domes of New Harmony as Elder Myravel walked through the floating gardens. Her skin, translucent like polished glass, shifted from deep blue to soft green as she moved between the glowing plants. The Villani had lived this way for over 300 years. Tending their special crops that pulsed with gentle light, Myravel paused at the edge of the main platform, looking out over the peaceful colony. Below her, other Villani glided between, the buildings on streams of controlled air, their movements graceful and unhurried. Children played among the bioluminescent flowers, their laughter like wind chimes in the breeze. "Elder, the council is ready for you," called young Kirishan, her skin flickering with nervous purple spots. Barely 100 years old, she was still considered a child by Villani standards. The governing chamber sat at the heart of New Harmony, its walls made of living crystal that grew slowly over decades. 12 elders sat in a circle, ages ranging from Myravel's modest for centuries to ancient Zephnor's 800 years. Each elder's skin told a story through its shifting colors, displaying emotions that words could never capture. "Have received a response from the Galactic Commerce Collective," Myravel began, her voice carrying the musical quality that all Villani possessed. "They have accepted our application to join their trade network." Elder Zephnor's skin turned a worried gray. "And what do they ask in return for this?" "Protection? Our light crops, of course. They claim such plants are rare in the galaxy. They offer us technology, knowledge of other worlds, and safety from those who might wish us harm." Young Kirishan raised her delicate hand. "Elder, forgive my boldness, but why do we need protection? We have lived in peace for so long. Our ancestors chose isolation for good reasons." The chamber fell silent. This was the question that had troubled many Villani since first contact 3 months ago. Their world was hidden in a quiet corner of the galaxy, far from the major trade routes. They had no weapons, no armies, no concept of war beyond old stories from their home world. "Peace is precious," agreed Elder Jorik Tem, his skin showing thoughtful amber streaks. "But perhaps isolation has made us weak. What happens when peace is not enough?" Myravel's skin shifted to understanding gold. "The galaxy is vast, and we have seen only the smallest part of it. These collective beings speak of wonders beyond our imagination, libraries containing the knowledge of 1,000 worlds, art forms we cannot even picture, technologies that could help our crops grow even brighter, and dangers," added Zephnor quietly. "They also speak of species that take what they want by force, pirates who raid peaceful worlds, empires that consume everything in their path." The debate continued for hours, as was the Villani way. No decision was ever rushed. Every voice was heard, every concern weighed carefully. The elders discussed trade benefits, cultural exchange, and the risks of exposing their world to outside influences. As the suns began to set, casting long shadows through the crystal chamber, Myravel called for the final vote. Elders touched the glowing crystal in the center of the circle. The ancient decision stone pulsed with soft light as each elder made their choice. The result was close, but clear. The Villani would join the Galactic Commerce Collective. That evening, Myravel stood on her private balcony, watching the stars appear in the darkening sky. Soon, those distant points of light would no longer be mysteries. Soon, her people would take their first steps into the wider galaxy. Karashan approached quietly, her skin now showing resigned acceptance rather than worry. "Elder, do you truly believe this is the right choice?" "I believe it is necessary," Myravel replied. "Our ancestors fled to this world to escape war and violence. They built something beautiful here. But beauty alone cannot protect us forever. What if the stories are true? What if there really are monsters out there among the stars?" Myravel's skin flickered with ancient wisdom, and we must trust that there are also heroes. The galaxy cannot be entirely dark, or civilizations like the Collective would not exist. 3 days later, the Villani sent their acceptance message across the stars. The transmission was intercepted by the Collective's communication network and forwarded to their headquarters. Within hours, trade agreements were being prepared and protection protocols activated. But the message was also intercepted by other listeners in the dark between stars. In the bridge of a massive warship, compound eyes studied the innocent transmission with cruel interest. The Scarith Empire had found another soft target, another world of peaceful beings who would make easy prey. War Commander. Thrixka's mandibles clicked with anticipation as he studied the planet's location. His scouts had been searching for exactly this kind of opportunity. It's a wealthy world with no defenses, protected only by promises from distant allies who might never arrive in time. The Volani slept peacefully that night, dreaming of the wonders they would soon discover among the stars. They had no idea that their message of hope had also become a beacon for those who brought only darkness and death. The first sign of trouble came from the orbital sensors 3 weeks after the Volani joined the collective. Yunki Roshan was monitoring the detection grid when strange shapes appeared at the edge of their star system. Her skin turned pale white with fear as more and more contacts appeared on her screen. Elder Miravel, please come quickly, she called through the communication crystal. Something is wrong, very wrong. Within minutes, the Elder arrived at the sensor station, her skin already shifting to worried purple. The display showed dozens of large objects moving toward their world with purpose and speed. These were not the gentle trade ships they had been expecting. Can we communicate with them? Miravel asked. Kirashan tried several times, sending peaceful greetings in multiple languages the collective had taught them. The response came as a harsh, grating voice that made both Volani shiver. Weak crystal skins, you have something we want. Surrender now, and your deaths will be quick. The transmission cut off, leaving only silence. Miravel's skin turned deep red with alarm as she activated the colony's emergency alert system. Across New Harmony, gentle chimes rang out, calling all Volani to safety. The attacking fleet belonged to the Scarith Empire, led by War Commander Thrixka. The massive insect-like being stood 3 meters tall, his black armor covered in scars from countless battles. His compound eyes reflected no mercy as he studied the peaceful world below. Sub-Commander Vexty, what do our scans show? He clicked through his mandibles. The planet is rich with the light crops, as our spies reported. The beings have energy. Shields protecting their cities, but no weapons. No military ships, no orbital defenses. The smaller Scarith's claws tapped against his console. They are completely helpless. Thrixka's laugh sounded like grinding metal. Perfect. Begin the siege. I want them to suffer slowly. Fear makes the victory sweeter. The Scarith ships moved into position around the planet. Their first target was the communication satellite that connected New Harmony to the collective. A single plasma blast turned the station into glowing debris. Elder Miravel watched from the command center as their link to help was severed. Activate all planetary shields, she ordered. Send a distress signal on every frequency before they can stop us. The protective barriers around New Harmony flickered to life just as the first enemy shots reached the surface. The energy shields held, but everyone could see they were not meant for warfare. They were designed to protect against storms and asteroids, not military weapons. Elder, the power drain is enormous, reported Chief Engineer Lockven, his skin showing stress patterns of bright yellow. At this rate, the shields will fail in 6 days. The siege began with calculated cruelty. The Scarith did not attack the shields directly with full force. Instead, they targeted everything outside the protected zones. Orbital farms were destroyed. Mining stations were turned to slag. Transport ships trying to evacuate supplies were hunted down and destroyed. On the second day, Thrixka sent another message to the terrified Volani. Do you see how helpless you are? Your collective friends have not come. No one is coming. Surrender now and serve the Empire, or watch everything you built turn to ash. Miravel stood before her people in the main assembly hall. Thousands of Volani had gathered, their skin showing every shade of fear and confusion. She had lived for 4 centuries, but had never seen her kind face such darkness. My people, we face an enemy that wants to destroy everything we are. Our message for help has been sent to every corner of the galaxy. We must believe that someone will answer. But what if no one comes? Asked Elder Zephnor, his ancient skin, now showing despair in deep black patterns. What if we die here, forgotten and alone? The question hung in the air like poison. The Volani had no weapons, no soldiers, no way to fight back. All they could do was hide behind their weakening shields. In hope, by the fourth day, the first generator failed. A section of the Eastern District lost power, and Scarith dropships immediately descended like metal vultures. The aliens that emerged were nightmares made real. Tall as trees, covered in black armor, with claws that could tear through crystal. Walls, the Volani, in the unprotected zone fled in terror, but there was nowhere to run. The Scarith herded them like animals, taking some as prisoners and killing others for sport. Their cruel laughter echoed through the crystal corridors of New Harmony. Please, Myravel broadcasted again on all frequencies. This is Elder Myravel, of the Volani colony on Kepler 44 to B. We are a peaceful people under attack. We have no weapons, no armies. We ask for help from any who would aid those who cannot defend themselves. Anyone who can hear this, please help us. Thrixka intercepted every transmission, his voice filled with mockery. Listen, Galaxy. Hear how the weak cry for mercy. Let this be a lesson to all soft-skinned species. The strong take what they want. The weak serve or die. No one will save you. As the fifth day dawned, 2 more shield generators failed. The Scarith forces moved closer to the city center, their victory now certain. In the command center, the remaining Volani leaders watched. Their world die, still hoping against hope that their message had reached someone who cared. But the galaxy remained silent, and the crystal spires of New Harmony began to fall. Captain Lee Junho was drinking his morning coffee when the distress signal reached the bridge of the TDC Relentless. The human warship was 3 days out from Mars, returning from a routine patrol mission near the asteroid belt. The crew of 200 was looking forward to shore leave and seeing their families again. Captain, we're receiving a transmission on the emergency frequency. It's called Lieutenant Park Soyoung from the communications station. Her young face looked troubled as she adjusted the controls. It's not from any human colony, sir, Lee said. Down his cup and walked to her station. Put it through the speakers. The voice that filled the bridge was unlike anything they had heard before. Musical, desperate, alien. This is Elder Myravel of the Volani, colony on Kepler 4 for 2B. We are a peaceful people under attack by the Scarith Empire. We have no weapons, no armies. We ask for help from any who would aid those who cannot defend themselves. The bridge fell silent. Every human crew member stopped what they were doing to listen to the plea. The alien's voice carried such pain and hope that it touched something deep in their hearts. Navigation. Where is this Kepler 44 to be? Lee asked. Ensign Kim Tae-Hein's fingers moved quickly across his console. It's in the outer rim, sir, about 72 hours away at maximum burn. But Captain, our engines weren't designed for that kind of sustained speed. From the engineering section came a gruff voice over the intercom. This is Chief Kim Minho, heard the transmission. Give me those coordinates and I'll get us there, even if I have to crawl into the reactor core myself. Lee looked around at his crew. These were good people, veterans of humanity's expansion into space. They had signed up to protect human colonies and trade routes. But now they faced a choice that would define who they were as a species. Sir, said Lieutenant Park Soyoung quietly, there's more? The attacking forces broadcasting their own message. She played the second transmission, filled with cruel laughter and threats. The alien voice promised death and slavery to anyone who dared to be weak. Petty Officer Choi Yu-jin, a young woman from Seoul, spoke up from her station. Captain, we can't just let this happen. Those people are calling for help. It's not our fight, said Commander Yoon Sang-woo, the ship's executive. Officer, we have orders to return to Mars. Command will want to know about this, but by the time they make a decision, those people will be dead, finished Lee grimly. He activated the ship's intercom. All hands, this is the captain. We've received a distress call from an alien colony under attack. They're asking for help from anyone who will listen. I'm calling for a crew vote. All those in favor of responding to the distress call, report to your department heads. The vote took less than 10 minutes. Every single crew member, from the newest recruit to the oldest veteran, voted to help. When the results came back, Lee felt a surge of pride in his people. Chief Kim pushed the engines to maximum. I don't care about safety margins, Captain. Get there. In the Marine Bay, Colonel Han Wujin gathered his soldiers. The stocky Marine had fought in the Martian Rebellion and the Europa mining conflicts.
Ice.
His weathered face showed the scars of many battles, but his eyes burned with determination. Listen up, Marines. We're going to help some aliens who are getting picked on by bullies. Intelligence says the enemy has superior numbers and firepower. They think they're dealing with another weak species. Sergeant First Class Lee Min-jae, a tough woman from Busan, checked her rifle for the 100th time. Sir, what if we're too late? What if they're all dead by the time we get there? Then we make sure their killers pay for it, Han replied simply. The Relentless pushed through space at speeds that made the hull groan and the engines scream. Chief Kim Min-ho worked miracles in the engine room, bypassing safety systems and pouring everything into the drive cores. The ship's doctor, Park Ji-won, prepared the medical bay for casualties. The weapons officers, led by Lieutenant Commander Oh Sung-ho, loaded every torpedo and charged every energy weapon. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, other species debated what to do about the distress call. The Galactic Commerce Collective held emergency meetings that stretched for days. Representatives argued about trade routes, military commitments, and political implications. The Altarian Republic expressed sympathy but claimed their fleet was too far away. The Centauri Federation offered to send observers. We must be careful, said Collective Administrator Vex Polan during one heated session. These Scarith might be more dangerous than they appear. We cannot risk our trade networks for one small colony. The humans are already responding, reported Intelligence Chief Morketh. A single ship heading toward the conflict zone. One ship
Polan's tentacles
twitched with what might have been amusement. These humans must be even more foolish than the Villani. They will die uselessly, and we will learn from their mistake. But on the bridge of the Relentless, Captain Lee Jun-ho studied the tactical data with cold determination. Be alone. But it carried something the galaxy had never seen before. It carried humans who believed that doing the right thing mattered more than the odds. 70 hours to contact, reported navigation. The aliens are still broadcasting their distress call. Then we're not too late, Lee said quietly. Not yet. The Relentless dropped out of faster than light. Travel at the edge of the Kepler 442 system with a flash of blue energy. Captain Lee Jun-ho immediately saw the nightmare unfolding before them. Dozens of dark ships surrounded the beautiful crystal world, their weapons firing steadily at the failing energy shields below. Tactical report, Lee ordered, his voice calm despite the anger burning in his chest. Lieutenant Commander Oh Sung-ho studied his displays with growing concern. Sir, I count 43 enemy vessels. Most are smaller than us, but their flagship is massive. The planet's shields are at 12% and falling fast. On the surface of the world, they could see explosions lighting up the crystal cities. Smoke rose from burning sections where the protective barriers had already failed. The distress calls were still broadcasting, but they were weaker now. Filled with despair, War Commander Thrixka noticed the human ship immediately. The massive Scarith leader clicked his mandibles with amusement as he studied the single vessel on his screens. Subcommander Vexti, what do you make of this newcomer? Unknown design, War Commander. Medium-sized vessel, possibly a scout or trader. They are transmitting identification signals in a language we have not encountered. Thrix's compound eyes glittered with cruel joy. Another soft species come to die uselessly. Send 3 destroyers to deal with them. We cannot allow witnesses to our victory. The 3 Scarith ships moved toward the Relentless with lazy confidence. They had destroyed countless vessels over the years, and this unknown ship looked no different from all the others. Their commanders were already planning how to divide the salvage. Captain Lee watched the approaching enemies on his main screen. His crew was silent, waiting for orders. These aliens had no idea what they were about to face. Communications, open a channel to the enemy flagship, Lee ordered. When the connection was established, his voice carried across space with deadly calm. This is Captain Lee Jun-ho of the Terran Defense Coalition ship Relentless. We're attacking. a peaceful colony. Withdraw immediately or face the consequences. Thrix's laughter filled the channel like grinding metal. Terran, another weak species seeking glory and death. You should have stayed in whatever hole you crawled from, mammal. Wrong answer, Lee said quietly, then switched to ship-wide communications. All stations battle ready. Show them what Earth breeds. The first Scarith destroyer opened fire with plasma cannons, expecting to cripple the human ship in the opening salvo. Instead, the Relentless rolled smoothly aside and returned fire with kinetic torpedoes that struck like hammers of God. The Scarith ship's armor, designed to stop energy weapons, meant nothing against solid projectiles moving at tremendous speed. The torpedo punched through the hull and exploded inside, tearing the destroyer apart from within. Debris scattered across space as the ship died in seconds. Impossible. Thrixka roared as he watched his vessel vanish from the tactical display. What kind of weapons are those? The second destroyer tried to use its speed advantage, diving toward the human ship from above. Lieutenant Commander Oh Sung-ho tracked the target calmly and fired again. Another kinetic torpedo found its mark, and another Scarith ship became. Expanding wreckage, the third destroyer captain panicked and tried to retreat. But the Relentless pursued with ruthless efficiency. Chief Engineer Kim Min-ho had pushed the engines beyond their limits for 3 days, and now that power served death. The human ship caught its prey and destroyed it with surgical precision. 3 ships destroyed in under 5 minutes, reported Oh Sung-ho, his voice filled with grim satisfaction. Enemy flagship is moving to intercept. On the planet below, Elder Myravel watched the impossible battle through her failing sensors. Her skin shifted to amazed gold as she saw the single alien ship fighting the massive Scarith fleet.
Who are?
They whispered young Kiroshin. How can one ship be so powerful? Before Myravel could answer, her communication crystal activated. A new voice spoke, strong and determined. This is Captain Lee Jun-ho. We received your distress call. Hold on down there. Help has arrived. Thrixka's flagship, the Death's Edge, moved toward the human vessel with its escort fleet. The war commander had never lost a battle, never retreated from weaker enemies, but as he watched the tactical display, doubt crept into his mind like poison. War commander, their weapons are unlike anything in our databases, reported his weapons officer. Our armor provides no protection against solid projectiles at those velocities. Then we will overwhelm them with numbers, Thrixka snarled. All ships, attack formation, destroy that vessel now. 20 Scarith ships moved to surround the Relentless, their weapons charging for a massive coordinated strike. But Captain Lee had fought pirates in the asteroid belt and rebels on Mars. He knew how to turn numbers against an enemy. Navigation, take us into their formation. Weapons, prepare for close-range engagement. Marines, stand by for boarding action. The human ship dove straight into the heart of the enemy fleet, like a shark among minnows. At close range, the Scarith ships could not fire without hitting each other. But the Relentless had no such restrictions. It moved through their formation like a deadly dance, its weapons speaking with mechanical precision. One by one, the Scarith ships died. Their commanders, used to fighting defensive species, had never faced an enemy that attacked with such calculated aggression. The humans fought like they had evolved on a world where everything wanted to kill them, because they had. The space battle raged for 2 hours, but the outcome was never in doubt. The Relentless moved through the Scarith fleet like a predator. Among prey, its weapons destroying ship after ship with cold efficiency. Captain Lee Jun-ho watched his tactical display as enemy contacts disappeared one by one. 15 enemy vessels destroyed, sir, reported Lieutenant Commander Oh Sung-ho. The remainder are pulling back to defensive positions around their flagship. On the planet's surface, the Scarith ground forces were in chaos. Their commanders screamed contradictory orders as explosions lit up the sky above them. The massive Death's Edge flagship was taking heavy damage, its armor cracked in bleeding atmosphere. War Commander Thrixka stood on his bridge, his compound eyes fixed on the impossible sight before him. Half his fleet was gone, destroyed by a single enemy ship. His sub-commanders cowered at their stations, afraid to meet his gaze. War Commander, we should retreat, suggested Sub-Commander Vexty, his voice trembling. These humans fight like demons. Our forces cannot match them. Thrixka's claws scraped against his command throne. In 300 battles, he had never retreated, never shown weakness. The Scarith Empire expected its leaders to die before admitting defeat. No, I will not flee from these mammals.
Yes.
Prepare my personal transport. If their ship is so dangerous, I will eliminate their ground forces myself.
Oh.
The massive Scarith general armed himself with his ceremonial warblades and headed for the shuttle bay. His pride demanded personal combat. If he could break the human ground commander, perhaps fear would drive the rest away. Colonel Han Wu-jin had already deployed his marines across the crystal city of New Harmony. The 200 human soldiers moved with deadly purpose through the streets, engaging Scarith forces wherever they found them. The aliens were confused by human tactics, unprepared for enemies who advanced under fire instead of seeking cover. Squad leaders report. Han spoke into his communicator as he crouched behind a fallen crystal pillar. Alpha Squad has secured the Eastern District, came Sergeant Lee Minjae's voice. Enemy resistance is collapsing. They're running, sir. Bravo Squad has rescued civilians from the Central Plaza, reported Corporal Kim Jae-won. The locals are scared, but grateful. They keep trying to touch our armor. Han nodded with satisfaction. The Scarith were fierce when facing helpless prey, but they broke quickly when confronted by real soldiers. His Marines were trained for urban combat, experienced in close-quarters fighting. The enemy's size and natural weapons meant nothing against human discipline and firepower. A thunderous crash echoed through the city as something massive landed in the main square. Han peered around his cover and saw a sight that made his blood run cold. A Scarith warrior 3 meters tall was climbing out of a smoking shuttle, his black armor covered in battle scars. This was clearly their leader. All units converge on the main square, Han ordered. We've got company. War Commander Thrixka stepped into the Crystal Plaza, his warblades gleaming in the alien sunlight. Around him, the beautiful Villani architecture lay in ruins. Scattered Scarith warriors regrouped behind him, taking courage from their leader's presence. Humans. Ah! Thrixa's voice boomed across the square. I am War Commander Thrixa, Breaker of Worlds, Terror of the Outer Rim. Your ship may be strong, but you are still soft mammals. Face me in single combat if you dare. Colonel Han stepped out from behind his cover, his rifle lowered but ready. The human soldier looked tiny compared to the massive alien, but his eyes showed no fear. Behind him, Elder Miravel and several Villani watched from a safe distance, their skin showing amazement and hope. I'm Colonel Han Wu-jin of the Terran Defense Coalition Marines. Han replied calmly. You made a mistake coming here, Bug. Thrixka's mandibles clicked with rage. Bug. I have conquered 50 worlds, mammal. I have killed thousands of your betters. Maybe, Han said, drawing his combat knife. But you never fought a human before? The Scarith commander charged with incredible speed, his warblade slashing toward the small human. But Han was ready. He had trained for this his entire career. Studied every combat form, prepared for enemies of all sizes and shapes. The battle was brutal, but brief. Thrixka's size and strength were impressive, but humans had evolved as persistent hunters on a world full of predators. Han used the alien's aggression against him, dodging the heavy attacks and striking at weak points in the armor. When Thrixka stumbled from blood loss, Han moved in for the killing blow. His knife found the gap between helmet and chest plate, and the mighty war commander fell with a crash that shook the crystal ground. The remaining Scarith warriors fled in terror. Their leader was dead, their fleet was broken, and these strange humans showed no mercy to those who attacked the innocent. Elder Miravel approached Colonel Han, her skin shimmering with grateful gold. Your people, you saved us all. But why? We are strangers to you. Han looked at the alien woman, thinking of his own family back on Earth, because someone had to. Because it was the right thing to do. As the human fleet secured the system, word of the battle spread across the galaxy like wildfire. The Scarith Empire marked human space as forbidden territory. The Galactic Commerce Collective suddenly wanted to discuss trade agreements, and in the depths of space, other distress calls began reaching Earth. The Deathworlders had announced themselves to the galaxy, and nothing would ever be the same.